but is that worth my time? That's the biggest question. Is it really worth my time and effort to do this, or is it better for me, the business owner, to have somebody else handle that task? Meanwhile, I focus on growing a business, developing the business. Hello, and welcome back to the Blueprint Journal, and I'm your host, Zach. The Blueprint Journal is a podcast that aims to mainstream independent thinking, highlight individual successes and failures, and share practical knowledge to achieve your version of success. Throughout this podcast, my focus will be documenting the journey through entrepreneurship rather than spotlighting the byproducts of achieving great success. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this podcast today, and I also hope you enjoy it. Yo, what is going on, folks? Man, we're back. Part 3 of the 4-Hour Workweek mini-series, man. The book itself was written by our boy Tim Ferriss. We're living vicariously through this book until we actually meet him in person. We're going to learn everything that he has to give us, man, because in these books, personally, I really feel like these very successful people, and Tim Ferriss is one of them, give you the keys and the vehicle for you to become successful as well. You just have to make the decision to learn how to drive, how to turn the car on, how to shift gears, how to apply yourself. You know, it's amazing to me. So this section is A is for automation. And before we dive into that, you guys already know, man, thank you all for tuning in to the Blueprint Journal. I've been seeing our downloads go up. I've been seeing our subscribers go up. You know, that's really amazing to me. Somebody's out there listening, man. But yeah, man, let's just dive straight into this section right here because I really enjoyed this section personally. This was probably my, I would say, first favorite section because in this section, he really goes into detail about virtual assistants, and virtual assistants have already played a huge role in my own personal business. You know, I've been reading this book, and there's another book that we'll talk about that I would say is a good complementary book to the 4-Hour Workweek. They go hand in hand, you know, and in A is for automation, he goes into detail about virtual assistants and how you're really able to outsource your life. You don't have to be a business owner. You can be an employee, and the way that you can apply these principles, he tells you this out like in the very beginning, but he also tells you that all of these things are very applicable. And I have friends that, you know, work in back office in their own cubicle at their own desk, X, Y, and Z. They're remote right now because of the whole pandemic. And I was like, yo, y'all need to read the 4-Hour Workweek and see if you can apply any of these things to make your life easier. I don't know if they've started reading it, but at the end of the day, like, this is a very powerful tool. And I see why this book is just the shit. You feel me? So, I mean, some things that I learned already from this section is what VAs can do generally. You know, some VAs can do more personal tasks for you. Some VAs can do more business tasks for you. Some VAs can do both, you know. But the reason why VAs or virtual assistants are the rant and the rave is because VAs or virtual assistants really allow you to outsource your life or your business in a more efficient and effective manner. And what I mean by that is some VAs can handle personal tasks, like, for example, paying your bills. Some VAs can handle business tasks like market research or business plans. Some VAs do it all, you know, and I found that very interesting because he not only gives you the examples, like I told you, he gives you the keys to success, but he also gives you the vehicle. He'll tell you what his resources are. He'll encourage you to go and do this on your own. You know, at the end of every section, there's a list of questions most of the time, or resources, and both, honestly, that you can utilize yourself. Of course, this book is a little outdated because it still refers to Fiverr as Elance, but it's okay, you know. But at the end of the day, he gives you basically templates, and you can go to his website and you can use his templates to help your life. You know, I've done that with my emails, for example. I went on his website, I found a template of an email that I thought was really, really nice to have as an autoresponder. Then I went ahead, adjusted it, fine-tuned it a little bit for my own business. So it's super helpful. And in this section, he really goes into detail about how VAs can really just automate everything for you. He gives you great examples of some people that have written to him or friends of his that have completely automated their entire business. And that's the direction that I'm moving in with my own business now as well. Not only do I want to get it to a point of full autonomy, but I want to still be able to scale it, because at some point, any business owner, any entrepreneur can tell you, you can only trade your time for so much money, and you can only get but so much money for your time. And that's called the ceiling. And everybody hits that ceiling at some point. And that's something that I am personally afraid of. I do not want to approach that. I do not want to hit that. I want that ceiling to be non-existent, because I am building the building. So the ceiling should not matter. I'm the one building the business. I'm the one building the corporation. I'm literally laying the foundation for the empire. So that ceiling shouldn't be an issue if you build a business properly. In this section here, man, he gives you some really, really interesting things to really chew on. He likes to string in everything that he's taught you up until this point and make you apply it to right now. So something that he said was eliminate before you delegate. I thought that was very key. You don't want to delegate tasks that are not necessary to your VA, because all you're doing at that point is wasting your VA's time and your money. And as far as I know, nobody likes to play with their money at the end of the day. But think about this. If you could free up your time for a fraction of what you make per day, would it be worth it for you? You can be a business owner. You can be an employee. If you make $150 a day or $100 a day as an employee, would it be worth it for you to pay somebody who can handle this task, $50 out of that $100 for you to at least work 4 days instead? I mean, that's worth it for me. And that's kind of the example that he gives you inside this book. How much of my time is really worth doing these tasks that take up a lot of time? They are somewhat important, but not as important as developing a business. Can I hand that off to somebody? If yes, cool. So he gives you like these little things that you should do when you are growing your business. And one of the things that he sort of suggested was, surprise, surprise, treat your VAs like human beings. The golden rule, treat others the way you would like to be treated. And I feel like that's really important to highlight inside this section, because many people, and I've seen it, I've heard stories, I've read stories, I've watched videos of business owners just taking advantage of the fact that they're paying somebody, $3 to $10 an hour maximum, $10 an hour, which is the higher end, I would say, to outsource some work. And they basically treat VAs like they're nothing, like they're not people, but they are people. They have feelings, they have holidays, they have families, they have children. All of these things are human beings as well. So I think it's really key for anybody who wants to start moving into autonomy to remember that these people that you're hiring are just an extension of your business, and their performance is a complete reflection of how you are as a manager and an owner. If everything goes wrong in your business, you cannot blame it on your employees. It is up to you. If anybody's been a manager, you understand this. If your team isn't performing well, it's not because they're not competent. It's because you didn't do a good job training them. You didn't do a good job managing them. You didn't do a good job vetting or delegating, or even before they even started working, hiring, interviewing them properly. There's so many different things. This really ties into extreme ownership in a slight way as well, but I'm not going to get too deep into it. He gives you 4 steps to automate your product or service. The first step to automating your product or service is to first define your market. Define your market. Before you can even create a product, you need to know who you're targeting, right? That's one of the first questions that we ask all of our business owners. What is your ideal customer? Who is your client? What is your customer profile? There's so many different ways to word it. But basically, we need to know, and you need to know more than anybody, who's your market. It's better to be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. And I found that really key because it's very important. I've learned this myself, to niche down in a very specific target group, focus group, Because if you're for everybody, it's going to be hard. If you're for everybody, it's going to be hard. I'm telling you. The second step to automation is brainstorming your product or service. You know, you want to come up with a product that you don't have to spend any real upfront costs or upfront money on. You know, you should be able to explain it in one sentence, and the price should be relatively low, but still high enough to get rid of, people who aren't willing to pay. So he gives an example of like $50 to $200. I think that's pretty reasonable for most businesses, product or service. And then you want to be able to create an FAQ, or frequently asked questions, on your website that can answer most of the questions people would ask. And this got me thinking, how can somebody just create like a business and come up with the frequently asked questions if nobody knows what their product is, or maybe they don't even really understand their product in the first place? Well, I have a very good way for you to do it. Just talk to your friends about it. It's really simple. Just reach out to your friends, be like, I'm building a business, and they're going to ask you, what is your business? And you tell them, this is what I'm doing. Then most times they're going to say, okay, cool. So tell me more. And you have to be able to explain it. And then they're going to ask you a question. That's going to be like your first question. The moment that you give them and tell them exactly what you're doing, whatever they say after that, that should be your first question. And you just keep doing that. You do it to 10 people that you follow on IG or Twitter or Snap. I don't really care. You can do the same thing with, Instagram, Facebook. You can reach out to so many people, or you can just text people. You can ask people in the street and record their responses. And then that can be your frequently asked questions. It's super duper helpful. The next step 3, is micro test. And how do you micro test? Well, before you micro test, you want to look at your competition and create a more compelling offer. This is not necessarily about beating them out on price or anything like that. It's just, how can you add more value if the price is already pretty solid? Like, what can you do to add more value? To also micro test, you want to test the offer with something called PPC, or pay per click. Those are like Facebook ads, Instagram, LinkedIn marketing, Twitter ads, YouTube, Google ads, all that. The reason why is you're able to reach a lot more people a lot faster. We live in the 21st century as of recording this podcast, and we have technology, we have social platforms that we can really leverage. We don't have to send letters out. We don't have to pass flyers out. We can reach a lot more people for a lot less money than just doing something more physical like that, And if you want to understand how to set up, your own PPC campaign, he kind of gives you an outline of how to do it, an old outline at least. But shameless plug, you can hit up VinMedia Group at VinMedia Group or VinMediaGroup.com, and we can get that settled for you. That's something that we do. Anyways, the next thing, the last step of micro testing, is when you decide to keep it or kill it. Keep the product or kill the product. Keep the campaign going or kill the campaign. The reason why you want to be able to reassess everything after you spend, say, anywhere between $250 to $750 on your campaign is because you need to gather the right amount of data to make real decisions. We're not playing any guesswork. We're actually getting real decisions. How you're figuring out if this is worth it or not just is based on how many people opted in for your product. Some people, an example he gave, which was create like a page, a landing page where somebody can actually buy the product. But when they go to try to purchase it and finish everything out, they'll get a screen that'll say, we're out of stock. We'll email you as soon as we're back in stock. Something that simple. And you can use that as a way of measuring interest and engagement. So many different things. And then the last step is rollout automation. And why this is important is because the idea and the purpose of this book and this section is to remove you, the human element, from the business. The business should be able to run completely independent from you. You should be running your business. Your business should not be running you. So if you're the one that has to fulfill orders, if you're the one that has to, do refunds or be customer service or sales and all of this, you're not running a business. Your business is running you. And that's very important to establish if you want to create a scalable business. I mean, I don't know. I'm not creating the next UPS. I'm not creating the next USPS. I'm not creating the next DHL. So I'm not going to be the one doing all the fulfillment at all. The questions that you should be asking yourself is, how can I create something that can run completely independent from me, but yet still pay me and pay the people that are working for me if you're going to establish a team? How do corporations continue to grow? What are they doing that you're failing to see? These are questions that you should be asking yourself, like, what is their organization like? How is it set up? Other questions that you might want to ask yourself are like, what can I automate in your business? What can you not automate? I think that's very important to know within your business, what you're able to actually automate and not. And then something else. Why should you hire somebody better if you can do it better? That's a question I had to handle by myself because I don't want to be self-centered, but I definitely am confident that if I were to do something, it will be done with more perfection. But is that worth my time? That's the biggest question. Is it really worth my time and effort to do this? Or is it better for me, the business owner, to have somebody else handle that task? Meanwhile, I focus on growing a business, developing the business, establishing other channels. And that's the whole purpose of this section. A is for automation, freeing up your time, doing things that you love. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. So if you understand these things, these concepts, and these keys to success, man, just go through with it. It's not that complicated, in my opinion. But anyways, man, that's the end of this podcast. If you guys enjoyed this, feel free to share it with somebody that you know will really appreciate it. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.